अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आदाब, ग्रीटिंग्स, ख़वातीन और हज़रात। बहुत अरसा हुआ हमने पसे आईना के लिए कोई इंटरव्यू रिकॉर्ड नहीं किया था। आज मैं एक ऐसी हस्ती का इंटरव्यू करने जा रही हूँ जिनको ह्यूस्टन थिएटर कम्युनिटी बहुत इज्जत और एहतराम के साथ देखती है और याद रखती है। इनका नाम है रेबेका ग्रीन उडन। रेबेका, जिनको उमूमन लोग मोहब्बत से बेकी पुकारते हैं, मेरे लिए निहायत काबिल एहतराम है। इन्होंने पिछले 3 सालों में बेशुमार मौके पर मेरी रहनुमाई की है। थिएटर इंडस्ट्री में एक मुसलमान साउथ एशियन औरत के लिए जगह बनाना आसान काम नहीं है। इसमें मुझे बहुत से दोस्त मिले और बहुत से ऐसे लोग मिले जिन्होंने बगैर किसी गर्ज के, बगैर किसी वजह के मेरा साथ दिया। रिबेका अपने बेहतरीन एक्सपीरियंस की वजह से और अपनी एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत तबीयत की वजह से उन लोगों में से एक हैं जो एक यूनिक कॉम्बिनेशन है, जिन्हें थिएटर इंडस्ट्री के बारे में एक थॉरो नॉलेज है और वो बगैर इस फिक्र के कि सामने वाला किस रंग या नस्ल से ताल्लुक रखता है, आगे बढ़ती हैं और लोगों की मदद करती हैं। इनका जो थिएटर है, जिसकी ये वन ऑफ द फाउंडिंग मेंबर्स हैं और एग्जीक्यूटिव आर्टिस्टिक डायरेक्टर हैं, मेन स्ट्रीट। अगर आप ह्यूस्टन में हैं या ह्यूस्टन विजिट करने आए हैं तो मेरा मशवरा है कि ज़रूर आप मेन स्ट्रीट थिएटर विजिट करने जाइए। अगर आप कोई शो कैच कर सकते हैं तो कोई शो देखिए, और अगर आप शो नहीं भी देख सकते हैं तो ये थिएटर ह्यूस्टन थिएटर हिस्ट्री का हिस्सा है। अ, जिस प्ले की वजह से मैं रेबेका से सबसे ज्यादा मुतासिर हुई थी, उसका टाइटल है परमानेंट कलेक्शन, विच इज रिटन बाय टॉमस गिबन्स। और ये एक अफ्रीकन अमेरिकन राइटर हैं जिन्होंने एक बेहतरीन प्ले लिखा है। अ, मुझे जिस चीज़ ने बहुत ज़्यादा मुतासिर किया वो रिबेका का इसके प्ले बिल के लिए जो प्रोग्राम दिया जाता है थिएटर के देखने के वक्त, उसमें इनके अल्फाज थे और यहाँ मैं कोट कर रही हूँ। एंड ये है, ये लिखती हैं, The one constant has been the recognition that the other person has a point of view that is valid and meaningful to them. Acknowledging this is an act of grace. Ignoring it leads to the situation the characters of in permanent collection face. I am thrilled to introduce my audience to one of my great friends in Houston theater industry, um, Rebecca Green Udden. I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right.
What?
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining me today. And um, I do get tongue-tied when I am getting recorded. I hope one of us can be more eloquent. Of course, you. So, of course, I have some questions that I have for you. Um, if you were to introduce yourself to people who had no knowledge of theater and Main Street, what would you say to them?
Main Street. Well, I'm one of the founders of Main Street Theater. We have been around for 49 years. Um, and we have a pretty varied repertory for adults. We perform in our Rice Village Theater. seats 100, and we offer plays that inspire curiosity and empathy. And then we also have a very vibrant Theater for Youth program, which we perform at Match in the large theater there. And this is a professional adults performing for young audiences, children ages pre-kindergarten through middle school. And then we also have a fairly vigorous education department that does classes, after school classes, in school classes, and summer camps, performing arts camps for kids. So we, one of our founding principles is providing work for Houston actors. So we do a lot so we can hire a lot of people.
That's amazing. That's an amazing introduction. And that took me back when you talked about empathy. That took me back to the point when I decided to ask you for an interview, is when I attended. Of course, I've been really fond of Main Street, and that's no secret. But when I watched the play Permanent Collection,
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
and when I read your little intro to the play in on the playbill, I was so touched um, by the words and by the values that your words emitted. Um, I can't sing enough praise for the production. It was it was a masterclass in theater, I would say. So, my first question would be, and we are trying to keep it at more conversational rather than very formal interview style. So, tell me a bit about yourself. Where did you grow up, got your education, and at what point of time theater become a part of your life?
I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Um, Went through high school there. Always enjoyed performing, the plays in the backyard kind of thing. Did a little bit of theater. My high school was pretty small, so I didn't have we did maybe one play a year. So I did a few things in high school, um, but my principal interest, what I thought I was going to be pursuing, was language. And I spoke French by this time. And when I went to college, I started taking other languages and thought, this is what I would like to make my career. But I started working I was at Rice, I came to Rice in 69, and started doing, there's a lot of extracurricular at the time. There was a lot of extracurricular theater at Rice. They didn't have a theater major or even a theater program per se, but they had a lot of, but every residential college had its own little theater group. And so I spent, by my junior year, I was spending all my time doing theater and just going to class, the sort of minimum that needed to be to to pass. And I did get a degree, and I loved my time at Rice, loved what the kind of theater I was doing taught me about producing theater. And then went to the university, back home to the University of Tennessee, to do a graduate program in theater. But then after about 6 months, I realized, I really don't like academic theater. So I think I'll just go back to Houston and see what we can do. And, got back to Houston, and there were several, it was a time in the mid 70s when there were just a lot of people a lot of young people in Houston who wanted to work in theater professionally and didn't want to have to move to New York or move to Chicago or move to LA. And so Main Street was founded, the ensemble was founded, Stages was founded, and then there were several other theaters that lasted from 5 to 15 years that were founded within a year of each other.
Oh,
So, yeah, it was just a good time to be, the resident theater movement was very strong, and people realized we don't have to leave town, we can just create theater here. So that's the story.
That's an amazing story. That's an amazing story. So, as the executive artistic director of Main Street Theater, how much of its work would you define falling in the business realm, and how much of it falls under its artistic realm, artistic mission? Tell me how important it is for a theater to have these two components together.
Well, obviously, we are a nonprofit corporation, and so we can accept contributions from people, which is a good thing because there's no way we could pay for what we do strictly by ticket sales. I mean, the work we do and the theaters that we work in, we would not be able to sustain ourselves only with ticket sales. So we are a nonprofit, so there's a lot of fundraising that has to be done. And then, of course, there's the just budgeting, you know. You can spend as much money as you want doing theater, but somebody has to keep an eye on the outgoes and the inflows. So that's you have to have both. Now, many theaters have two different people, one handling all the artistic and one handling the what I would call management. We don't exactly have that. We have a flatter structure with there four of us in the admin office, and everybody pretty much has the same level of responsibility and authority. Um, there's, the business manager who says you can't spend that, and then there's the production manager who says we need to hire these people, and then there's the marketing development person who is trying to bring in the money, and then there's me who says let's do these plays and what's this going to cost. So it's a pretty flat structure.
So, I, you know, I watched a play that you directed. The play was by an author who had received a Pulitzer. How much benefit you think is reaped by the writers and the producers on the basis of an award?
Oh, everything that um, brings attention to a script helps that script get further out into the world. There are a million wonderful plays that never see the light of day, or maybe they'll see one production, but nobody reviews it. Very few people see it, and it just sits there. So every good review, every award that a play gets just brings it to people's attention. For us, it helps us with the marketing. It's like you you're thinking about, well, do I want to go see this play or this play? Well, this play won the Pulitzer, so maybe I should see this one so I can, talk about it. So all of those things not only help the play get around, but also help the producer to market the play.
And marketing becomes challenging when the playwright is unknown or the play is unknown.
Right. Yeah. It especially nowadays when there is no arts coverage in to speak of in Houston. The Houston Press is the only publication that routinely covers almost everything.
For someone who has won a Pulitzer, I don't know how much value more productions would bring to them because they have already, got it.
Well, but it's the income that you get from
Yeah.
the royalties that are paid.
Hmm.
I mean, we pay royalties about from 8 to 10% of everything we take in at the box office goes to the playwright or the playwright's agent. So yeah. I mean, writing plays is not a very profitable endeavor unless you can get your play out there and get lots of people to produce it.
That's right. That's great. So, how does Main Street actually selects its plays?
Um, I read a lot. I try to see a lot in other cities. Obviously, we don't repeat plays that are being done locally because people have already had a chance to see those. So I go to New York. I when I'm traveling anywhere, I try to go to the theater and see not the sort of big blockbusters because we're not going to be doing those, but what are the smaller theaters producing? What are plays that I think sound interesting to that our audience would be interested in? We revisit classics and the we sit around the office and we talk about, well, what would we like to do and how does this play fit in with this play? You want to make sure you've got a balance of interests in your season. It's
Mm.
there's no set of rules on picking a season. It's very intuitive, I guess.
Intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever I have seen at Main Street in last almost 7, 8 years, I have always loved it.
No, well, thank you.
You're very consistent about the quality of work that you produce. Um, Tell us a bit about the fact that you acted as well.
Oh, well, I always loved acting. But early on I realized that there were people who were a lot better than me, so I sort of moved more into the directing category. That just and every once in a while there'll be a role that I'll say I could do this, and I get to say that because I'm the boss, but I
Hmm.
don't do that very often. Maybe once every 3 or 4 years.
So you just said this, like I know, all competent people are somewhat self-critical, and I see that in you as well. When you just said that there were people better than me,
Oh yeah.
but my question is, isn't art supposed to be not like jungles, law survival of the fittest? It
Well,
shouldn't it be slightly different than that?
well, it's not that. It's just, I can see, I mean, I'm a director, so I know this person is really, really good.
Hmm,
I am very competent,
hmm,
but I am not, I don't have a huge range.
hmm.
And I learned this early on, there are things I can do and things that other people do much better.
Rebecca, one thing I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned that all these theaters were established round about the same time, as you said, in 1 year's time they were established. So, how much I know theater people are generally probably the kindest people in media. Uh, uh, how much is there sort of competition out there in theater for grants, for fundings, for pulling audiences on the same days and the same dates? How do you work around that?
Well, the Houston theater community is pretty collegial. I think long time ago we realized that if we can get people into the theater, it helps everyone. Now, we do compete with each other for funding. Um, and I would be lying if I said I didn't look at other people's funders lists and go, they got that much from that. Oh, we should be getting that. But it's not because it's not that I resent their success. I just, I want to be successful as well.
Hmm,
Um, and we're very everybody's I like to say we're all in each other's pockets. We borrow stuff from each other. We call each other about I need this actor. Have you got somebody that can do this role? So yeah, we're pretty it's a pretty open and collegial community.
hmm, hmm. No, I have. I have experienced that one, in my interaction with other theaters of late, that it's a community,
Mhm.
you
It
know.
is, yeah.
It is a community at the end of the day, people who are creating theater. As you know that there was very little to no South Asian theater existing 8 years back in Houston. So we started out still learning the ropes of the game. And how how do you think we should get the community theater sense out and professional theater sense in uh, for South Asians?
Ooh, that's a time is one thing, just consistency. I'm not saying that everything in our 50-year history has been at the quality that we are doing now. Um, it takes time to build a company or an acting pool. It'll take a lot of recruitment, encouragement. Yeah, it's and then, when you start giving people even a minimum payment, that elevates it
Of course.
to oh, I'm getting paid to do this, even if it's really not very much. It's still you're committing some pay to that. But
Hmm.
then, you also have to have the expectations that these are it's not a casual thing. This is you've made this commitment. I've made a commitment to pay you, and you need to commit to giving me your best work. And
Hmm.
that's the relationship I think that will really start growing the South Asian uh, theater.
Hmm. One more thing that you mentioned earlier is how important it was for you to have donations and maintain a 501(c)(3) status in order to run this theater.
Mhm.
Um, and at what point of time did your audience and your funders realize that just selling tickets is not going to let this company survive?
Well, I think the the theater going audience that we first
Hmm.
attracted understood that because every nonprofit, I mean, the Alley had been raising money, the Theater Under the Stars had been raising money for years, and everybody knew that at some point we're going to ask you for money.
Hmm.
Um, and as we got bigger, then as we got a bigger audience, I can remember when we were doing fundraising campaigns and we get $10 checks, $25 checks. But the total that we needed wasn't so great that those checks weren't significant. I mean, they're still significant now, but we need a lot more of those and a lot bigger contributions.
Hmm. I always sort of struggle with this sense, and of course, I think the type of culture that I come from, and the values that I have, that theater is so much hard work from the time that it's written to the time it's performed and marketed, and everything is so much hard work. Why do we call it a charity? Why do we make it a non-for-profit? Because that's sort of telling people that what we are doing is charity.
Well, yeah, you can look at it that way, and there are people who look at it that way, and they say, well, you should be doing something that everybody wants to come see, and those people aren't going to be in our audience. but it is not just it's not just hard work, it's also ephemeral because once that performance is over, it's done. It's that performance will never be done again. Maybe you'll do the same play night after night, but
Hmm.
the performance that the audience sees, that's an experience that only that audience will have. Um, yeah, we are a charity, but we do good. I mean, I think we are a charitable organization. We give a lot to the community. We bring people together. We foster communication. Of course, we also do a lot in education as well.
Hmm.
But I think it's good for the soul of the community to have good theater. Art is important.
When you look at theater as a medium, and as a person who understands theater so well, what do you think is the most important part of a production? Writing, directing, acting, or the technical part?
Well, to me, it starts with the writing. If the playwright is saying something that I want to say, then I mean it's all important. The technical is probably, to my mind, the least important because you can tell a story without anything. Um, but I do think that the acting and directing has to be in support of the playwright's vision or the playwright's intention.
Hmm. So so basically the playwright's vision is what should be carried out.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with a story,
Hmm.
and you can do devised theater as well, which where you don't have start with a play, and you everybody kind of works together to tell a story, but it starts with the story, and what is this story um, telling? How does the audience connect to this story?
Hmm.
And then all those ingredients help the audience connect.
It's interesting when you said like the technical aspect is the least important, so to say, because the story can be told without technical support. But funnily enough, that is the most expensive part of the production. For someone like me, that's the most amount of money that we part with for the technical support.
Right. For us, it's the people, it's actors, just because
Hmm.
of the scale that we work with in the professional actors equity.
Hmm.
Our Yeah, the technical for us is not uh, well, I mean, I guess it is pretty expensive when you think about we have a staff we have a technical staff, and
Hmm.
so we pay them in terms of the set building the sets, and I mean that the materials are nothing, but the personnel, it's all the people that it takes to put on a play. That's what that's what costs the money. It's not the
Hmm.
wood or the lumber or the paint. It's the people that
People.
have to make that happen.
Hmm. You know, I had a chance of visiting your your props and set uh, um,
Storage.
storage
Yeah.
space, and I was so surprised at the expanse of this place and the number of things that you had. Because in my experience, whenever I go to a Main Street play, I I love the sense that it has a very minimalist approach.
Yeah.
You know, so I was wondering when did I miss seeing all this stuff? But they have been incorporated so beautifully.
Well, over the years, we acquire things, and if we buy something, rather than just throwing it away, we'll store it. And sometimes we do go every once in a while, go through and go, we haven't used this in 15 years. We're going to get rid of this.
Hmm.
Um, And other theaters borrow things from us, you know, as I said, we're all kind of in each other's pockets. So we borrow things from other theaters. There, there was a time in our history in the 80s where somebody had given us it was a settee, a sort of Victorian thing, and that sucker showed up in about every third play. It
Hmm.
had its own biography.
Hmm. Yes. And and among the things like that I so proudly own is one of the chairs that I procured from your storage shifting. And I have kept it separately. I don't let anyone sit on it because it's very precious. It's part of theater history in Houston. So no, I just admire the work you do. There are a few things that I would like you to share with us. Like for once, what do you think is your legacy as an artist?
Well, I guess the experiences I've given to people, I certainly hope Main Street will continue after I retire. It may not. You know, these things, as I said, this is an ephemeral business, but people will remember shows that they've seen, and artists will remember the experiences that they had at Main Street. And that's good enough for me.
That's an amazing thing. That's an amazing thing. And among the shows that I think I watched that you directed, um, there was this one last year. Um, Honestly, I just loved the way it was directed, and I was able to distinguish between the sense of writing from the sense of directing. What was the contribution of the director in that one play? That was a I don't know. I'm forgetting the name of that.
Let's see. The last thing I directed was Year of Magical Thinking. Is that?
Yes. I just found it. Year of Magical Thinking. I found this. So yeah, I because it was almost an hour and a half or something,
Mhm.
and there was just one character, and but I just sort of found myself engaged, and I just love the sense of the stage that you had created, the set, sorry, the set that you had created, and yeah, tell me, Rebecca, if there are any experiences that you have had, like things that you thought were devastating for you for some reason during your experience in theater making, or something that you think we who are new to this would benefit from, some wisdom.
Oh, so many. We've made, I made so many mistakes along the way. So many. Because I really, especially in the early days, just really didn't know what I was doing. Um, and my advice is always have good people around you. Always have people who know what they're doing and are heading in the same direction you are. I have never been it's my way or the highway. You know, I've always known that other people have more knowledge than I do in certain areas, and really it just in about anything. So, you know, humility, I guess, is just, you know, surround yourself with good people.
That's that's a great advice. That's a great advice. And if I would ask you to give me one point of your theater career that you would say that was the highest point, that was the best day of my life as a producer, and I felt I have got I've got it.
Oh, I don't know that I could. Every show is its own has its own special thing. I mean, sort of glorious moment. One glorious moment was when we produced The Coast of Utopia
Hmm.
in 2012. Um, the Tom Stoppard trilogy with three plays, a company of 35 people, and then one day we did all three back to back to back. Um, I mean, that was pretty glorious that we were able to pull that off. Um, but there's just so much. And in 1985, when we produced Wendy Wasserstein's Uncommon Women and Others, I mean, that kind of put us on the map, especially within the feminist movement. That was very exciting to do that play, and the response. It's when an audience responds to a play, that's really, those are the great moments. And people are polite, they clap, okay, I saw that. That was good. But when they really respond, that's what it's all about, is really making that very strong connection.
Hmm. When you started out after, when you moved back to Houston and you made a choice that you will see what this is and you're going to try making theater, at, at any point of time did this occur to you that this would be your life?
Not really. No, no. Not that it would last 50 years. No, no,
No?
that never occurred to me. It's not that I said, "Oh, I'm going to do this for 5 years and then do something else."
Hmm.
It was, this is what I'm doing now, and we'll probably do it again next year, and then the year after that, and we'll see where it goes.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for your time
Awesome.
and the way you have, poured the wisdom and into our interview. Thank you so much. And
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
um, I just hope that um, you would always direct amazing plays and we will get a chance to watch those plays. And one thing I always say is kindness is what possibly that defines us as people first and artists later. And I have found a great mentor in you, and I just admire you a lot.
Well, thank you. I'm I have a lot of respect for what you're trying to do too, because I've sort of been there, and I know how I know the struggle. So I'm, happy to walk beside you as you grow your endeavor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.